How do you ask a cop, can I just get in the passenger side and drive around with you?
You just go up to any cop you see in the street and just ask him. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
This is Daniel Francis. He is the founder and CEO of Abel Police. Daniel, what do you say about the allegations?
What allegations?
Next question. Backpacks?
Love them.
What about them?
Backpacks, honestly, are all you need to travel. Not a lot of people realize this, but most people could easily travel with just a backpack. I spent 2 months in Japan with a 13-liter backpack. But really, to unlock the power of the backpack, of course, you need merino wool.
Merino wool?
Yeah, merino
Why?
wool. Because merino does not smell. It's amazing. You can wear merino for weeks and it won't smell.
Have you done that?
Of course.
That's disgusting.
I'm doing it right now.
That's really gross.
That's fine. Are you here to interview me about merino wool?
Kinda.
Kinda.
It's a good podcast.
Yeah. Merino is an amazing fabric. It's miraculous, really. And the only problem is it's expensive. So people who get 30 views per episode on their podcast probably can't afford it.
Probably not. Probably not. Is that why you have a sheep?
No, I have a sheep because there's actually 2 reasons for the sheep. One, there's like a meme in police culture that police are sheepdogs. And they're like watching out for the herd. And so there's that aspect. And then the second one is, of course, Abel sacrificed a sheep to God, which pleased God. Don't laugh. It's the Bible.
It's based, I think. Right? Tell me if I'm wrong.
It's based.
There we go.
But you gotta handle it with a little bit more reverence.
All right. It's based. You've done a number of things where the best way I can describe them are extremely stressful situations that very few people find themselves in.
Yes.
What about you is attracted to those types of situations?
You've ever heard the saying, we didn't do it because it's easy. We did it because we thought it would be easy.
That's what I do.
Yes, that's it. But I guess I'd choose cooler things than a podcast.
Tell me about the most stressful situation outside of Elon, the most stressful situation that you've ever been in.
I was in a police chase and we hit 130 miles an hour on the highway. But even crazier than that is we hit 50 miles an hour in the Oakland Hills. And if you've ever been in the Oakland Hills, that's wild because those are very narrow, scary roads. So, but yeah, it was great. It was so much fun.
Wasn't that like an hour and a half too? Or was it like 45 minutes?
It was like
How long was it?
47 minutes.
Yeah. When you find yourself in that situation, what are you thinking?
No, I was just pumped. I was having the best day. That was the best day of my life.
Yeah.
I waited for that for so long. That was awesome. So yeah, I guess I was just thinking, I'm very happy to be alive right now.
What do you think the other guy was thinking?
The guy who's running?
Yeah.
Apparently he was thinking, how do I ditch this firearm? Which he then did in someone's front yard, and we saw it, and they went and got it.
Incredible. Amazing.
Yeah. Turns out you can't have a 9mm on you when you're on parole, so that's why he ran.
Are guns even legal in California?
Guns are legal, weirdly enough, but a lot of times cops talk about them like they're illegal because there's a pretty narrow scope in which you can be driving around with a firearm in your car in California.
What was the guy on parole for?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But he was on parole. That's why he ran. And then
how do you ask a cop, can I just get in the, passenger side and drive around with you?
You just go up to any cop you see in the street and just ask him. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. No, you go to the station. They have a station they go back to, and there's like people there that do paperwork. So you have to fill out a form, and then they do some research to make sure that you don't kill cops for fun and stuff like that, or that you've never been to prison, you haven't recently escaped from prison, that kind of thing.
And how long does that process take?
No, 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
And then you're in a car with someone.
And then they tell you, yeah, we're going to schedule it. I mean, obviously it's different everywhere, but one of my number one piece of advice is definitely go on a ride along. It's so much fun. Oh, it's so good.
Okay. What's the best thing about it?
Okay. First off, it's free. All right. That's great.
Free ride.
Yeah. Free ride. Second off, policing is way different than people think. Like,
In what ways?
so policing's kind of like, first off, it's a service job. Like people think it's more like the military. The best type, my favorite type of cop, like my favorite prototype of a police officer, former bartender.
What?
Yeah.
Why does that make the best type of police officer?
Because policing is a service job.
Mm.
But if you're a bartender, you have that right combination of like service, but also like not
You
gonna
might be able to
pushed
throw the
around.
guy out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and you can definitely talk shit, right? Which is
Interesting.
an important thing for a police officer to be able to do.
What's the worst type of police officer?
The worst type of police officer? Honestly, lazy cops.
Damn.
Yeah, cops can be lazy. Yeah,
How often?
sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you see lazy cops. A lot of times, I mean, it depends on how the local agency is, but it's like once you're a lazy cop, then you are putting a lot of weight on your fellow officers, and so even the union will kind of stand back and like let you get fired if you're like persistently lazy.
You've been on 30, I think, ride-alongs at this point. Is it more?
32.
32. What was the next one that was the most like exciting?
I saw a guy got hit by a train.
What?
Yeah. It was horrifying. It was really bad. You shouldn't laugh. Yeah, the guy got hit by a train. He it was like a ball of like flesh.
Wow.
Because like the skin kind of ripped off and was like
you
kind
saw
of
him
yeah,
afterwards?
and you couldn't like really
Oh,
tell what part of
God.
his body you were looking at. Like you suppose it's his leg because that's the biggest part of someone's body, but I don't know, maybe he's fat and I'm looking at that. I don't know. It was really gross.
That was bad. And like after that experience, you could like go home that night. Like, what are you a little bit shell
I
shocked?
was in a great mood. No, yeah, I'd seen dead bodies before. Honestly, the worst is when people have been dead for a few days.
Uh-huh.
Like a lot of times that happens,
Yeah.
where it's like, I'll do a welfare check. We haven't heard from Grandpa Frank or whatever in a while, and then you go up and he's been laying in bed, and then it's like got this like the house will get this like kind of sickly
Smell.
sweet. It's like
Ooh.
yeah, the fact that it's kind of sweet makes it really gross.
That is
'Cause
disgusting.
part of your mind is like yes,
Yes?
because it's sweet,
All right.
It's
What part of
enticing.
your mind,
It's
Daniel?
enticing for a second. You're like,
Wait, so you go into some dead person's home and you think
isn't
nice?
it weird? It's kind of sweet.
And to
You
be
thought
clear,
that was weird a second ago.
To be clear, it is weird. It is weird.
Okay,
To be clear, I don't know if I would be like nice.
it's a little nice smelling. That's the messed up thing about it.
All right. Based.
It reminds me actually the first time I went to China, I got there at like 1 a.m. and nothing was open, but I was like, I want to have a drink. I'm so excited,
Yeah.
And I was alone. So I was just like, okay, I just went down to like the convenience store and I just bought the nicest looking bottle they had. It was so ornate. And I got back to my little Airbnb and I poured myself like a glass of it or like a shot and I drank it. And I thought that I had accidentally purchased and consumed cologne. Like it was like so sweet. It was so disgusting. It's this like liquor that they drink in China that's so offensively sweet. It's like overpowering and it's like,
Why do they drink it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I got used to it after a while.
You thought it tasted horrible and then you did it again?
That one I didn't drink, but I ended up going to a friend's family for Chinese New Year.
Okay.
And the dad and the uncles all drank like every single meal, like insane amounts. I met this friend in China. This is a China story. Met this friend in China, and I was explaining alcoholism. And
He's like, I know what that is.
no, he did
No.
it. Like I was like explaining it, and I was like, yeah, because some people in my family are alcoholics. I'm like, yeah, they just drink too much. They drink way too much, and it like really damages their lives and their personal relationships, and the family will get estranged. All these things. He was like, I don't think we have anything like that in China. Like I never heard of that. It's like how amazing. Like,
How amazing?
Yeah, it was like what
What?
a nation of supermen that they don't have this. And then I figured out every male in China is an alcoholic. That's just standard. Like I regularly see them putting it in their coffee and stuff. Like it was like everywhere.
I'm pretty sure that the like biggest, I don't know if it's the biggest company in China, but like one of the top companies just makes one beverage and it's like, I think it's like Mao Tai or something.
Yeah,
And it's like the alcohol.
that's the kind of alcohol. It's
Yeah.
baijiu.
Yeah.
Maltai's the brand, but Baijiu is the kind of liquor.
Yeah. And apparently it's just like on every table in deals and like all sorts. It's just everywhere. There's no way you have one.
Oh.
No way.
No,
Is this the stuff?
that's the stuff.
Oh,
Smell it.
goodness. Mm.
I know, right?
It almost smells like sake.
It's much
This
worse.
is what it looks like.
This is what a body that has been decomposing in a house for 7 days
Goodness.
smells like.
And you like that smell. Wait, so you like the smell, but
well,
you don't like
it
the
was
taste.
weird that it was sweet.
Right.
You know, it's just like it's very confusing when you walk in and you're like, this is a place of death. And then you're like, kind of like a cologne.
But like a good one?
Not a good one.
Not a good one. What makes that tea so special?
That tea is Puer tea. It's fermented. And this particular brick of Puer tea is fermented for 30 years.
Have you done a little bit of research on that fermentation process, what that looks like?
Nope.
Not at all?
Nothing to say.
Do you just like to say that it's been fermented for 30 years?
I mean, it's just like stored in a warehouse for 30 years. It just... Interview over.
It's fucking over, guys. All right. So you talked about police conferences, and apparently those are just not the way to spend the money.
No,
Why is
police
that
conferences are the best.
All right.
So
why are police conferences the best way to spend your
because you
money?
can't break in otherwise.
Right.
Like they don't know who you are. And if you literally, when I started this, I was like going around East Bay, a little flyer that my girlfriend made, and I was like, "Here's my little startup. Do you want me to do your reports for you?
Yeah.
I'll do AI reports for you." And they're like, "I don't think that's legal, kid. Like, get out of here." And it really took like an act of God. It was miraculous that I got into my first agency. But other than that, it's like you need to actually go and like talk. Where are the cops? Like, where's command staff meet? They meet at state conferences. So Cal Chiefs, California Chiefs of Police.
Who was the first person that just like opened the door to the first police station for you?
It was Richmond, California. It was actually, so I ended up talking to I think it was San Pablo, which is a smaller city next to Richmond, and they were like, "Hey, we can't do this, but you should talk to this guy at Richmond." And he's a captain there, Eric Smith, and it's basically like chief, assistant chief, captains, then lieutenant sergeant, officer. So he's like pretty high up in the chain. But I talked to this, like I came in and I had like I'd made a fake body camera video. By the way, you should probably explain what my company does.
You could do that.
Okay.
Go for it. He'll explain what the hell.
We take body cam footage from police and we turn it into police reports for them because the police spend 1/3 of their time writing reports. So
used to.
Boom. It's changing. So I came in, AI, changing the world. Everything's changing.
We'll put AI in the title so people know to click.
AI
is the future.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Yeah, so I came in with a demo. I had taken my phone and held it to my chest and warned my friend for littering in this fake body cam video I made. And then I built like a demo model stack that could like interpret this and then start filling out a police report. And I came in and I showed it to this captain, Eric Smith at Richmond. And I he sat there and watched the whole thing and he watched the whole thing fill out. And the video ends and he just sits there in silence, staring at the screen. And he said, "That was bitchin'."
That was bitchin'. That's good.
He said, "You got to do that here." And I was like, "Yes, brother, I will do that here." Not letting on that I had just been rejected by like 10 agencies. I was like, "All right, I'll think about it. You know, you're in the running."
You're in the running too.
Immediately, I was like, "Yes, I definitely will do it here." Richmond was great. And then he brought it to the chief, Bisa French, and she loved it. And I was like, hell yeah, like immediately. It was really amazing because at the time, nobody thought that was legal. Like everyone was like, I don't know what to do with that.
You're not allowed to use AI to like transcribe what's happening
to generate a report.
People think that that's legal or
like,
thought.
Yeah,
Why?
It seemed very because an officer's report is like something he swears to. And so like if officers are like just getting these reports generated for them, it seems like to a lot of older cops, especially, like it was what command staff tends to be, right? Like it sounds really fishy, right? When you get up on the stand as an officer and you have to testify and the defense asks you, "Did you write this report?" Right? And like, well, kinda.
AI.
Kinda. But the thing is, Richmond is not, Richmond was more recent than most in having transcription for having scribes that you would call in reports. So it used to be a long time ago, cops would go find like a payphone and then call in a report. And there would be like the records gals back at the headquarters, and they
like
would
do the write up.
yeah, and they would write it up for them, and then they would come in, and at the end it would say, this was transcribed by JHL or whatever their initials are, and then the cop would sign off on it, read it over, and sign off. And so when Eric Smith saw this, he was like, yeah, that's like literally what we used to do before they cut our budget and they had to fire all the records people. And so now cops have to write their own reports, but it's like, that seems unnecessary, right? Like it's literally the same thing. And so, yeah. And then a few months after I started, Axon announced they were doing draft one. And Axon is a really, really big company, publicly traded, worth like $60 billion. And Axon said they're going to do the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that kind of open up the doors for a lot of different police departments to kind of say, we're adopting this technology?
Yeah. So it was weird when I was doing it, but then Axon says it's normal. Kind of unfair.
That does suck.
But no, it was great. Axon made it normal, and then Axon did a really terrible job at it. Just a really
so they announced
bad job.
This is the future, and then just fucking...
And then literally it's their crappy transcriptions, which are fine for like in custody, like interviews, or like in station interview room, cold room interviews, but it's terrible out in the street where people are arguing over each other and drunk, and there's road noise and all this stuff. Like it's like very difficult to get good transcriptions in that environment. Difficult for other people, not for us. And so they have bad transcriptions, and then they just shove it through ChatGPT. It's like so lazy.
That's not how you do it.
Oh no, there's so many layers.
It's very sophisticated.
There's so many layers. I know. Well, the thing is, like I said, I didn't do this because it's easy. All right. I did this because I thought it would be easy. Turns out it's very difficult, but we got it.
How did you get in touch with the first one? The first 10 that rejected you? How did you get in first?
Driving around, handing out little flyers.
Literally? 2 cops?
Yeah. I would go to the station and be like, do you have like a captain I can talk to?
What was their response? Just no?
They would look at it and they would be like it's like so out of the left field, and I'm just some random like guy, and basically what the deal is like, I want all of your body cam videos, which is not something that's public record.
No. You
see body cam video on like YouTube and stuff, that stuff's redacted. They put a huge effort into redacting it, right? Like it's very costly to redact that. I need all the unredacted body cam video. And I would also like to see all your police reports unredacted as well, so that I can learn how to write them. And they were like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
So when you got that first, police station to sign on, that was like a huge win.
Oh, that was like life-changing, honestly. I mean, that's what took it from like a weird project to like, oh, okay, like this is actually a thing. And then that helped me raise money.
Was there ever kind of like a situation where you're after the like 5th rejection and you've gone and talked with 5 different police stations or whatever, and they're like, this is definitely, we're never going to adopt this? Were you kind of like, maybe they won't actually adopt it?
No, it seemed inevitable, because I figured what was going to happen is that police would start using ChatGPT in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something called CJIS, and I knew CJIS was really important. CJIS is like SOC 2 for policing. It's the Criminal Justice Information Security Services.
Yes.
It's the protection of criminal justice information, CJI. And ChatGPT is not CJIS. CJIS is it's like SOC 2 for policing. It's very niche. Vanta does not have a CJIS product. Like becoming CJIS was a massive headache because I had to do it. Like we had to figure it out ourselves, basically.
Yeah.
And so I knew that was going to be a problem. So I was like, AI is going to come for everything, and it's going to come for really specific workloads. And it's going to be really poorly handled by general tools. But if you can have a very specific tool, and you, at least for a long time, will have the CJIS mode, like OpenAI is not going to go become CJIS. It's too niche.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not worth their time.
Yeah.
But also, isn't OpenAI or most of the chats just public? So if you do actually start like feeding it, is it different through the API?
So they have the weights in so AWS GovCloud has weights for Anthropic.
Okay.
And then Azure Government Cloud has the OpenAI weights.
Interesting.
And those are clean room CJIS environments,
Yeah.
but it's not really accessible to a consumer.
And to put it in perspective, so I think you said that roughly like 1/3 of the cops' time was spent writing reports. And I mean, I don't know exactly what the numbers are for SFPD, but that's something north of like $150,000+ per officer per year, which
Yeah.
means that probably like $50K per officer is spent on just writing reports.
Yeah.
And like how many officers does SFPD have?
Yeah, 1,600.
So 1,600
Yeah.
times 50,000. That's like not a small number.
It's a very large number.
Yeah. That's like more than $1 billion on reports.
Yeah. It's
For one police department.
Spending a lot of money on reports.
Insane.
Yeah.
Is policing like super fragmented? There's just a bunch of random.
Extremely fragmented. There's 18,000 police agencies in the U.S.
18,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Are they all using like different software and stuff?
Many of them are,
Awesome.
which is really convenient for us.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Do you just like chewing glass?
Yeah, I mean, well, to me, it's like every hardship is an opportunity, right? So it's like, yeah, what do we have to be really good at? We have to be really good at API design and building around other people's APIs, right? We have to be really good at having scalable systems engineering, right? Like these are things that like we are very strong at, and it's not like minor to do that well for AI because a lot of those playbooks aren't written yet. And so like having really GPU intensive workloads that we have to do in a scalable way. We figured a lot of that out.
When you're thinking about some like stunt or going on a cop car chase or whatever, how do you kind of go in your mind?
Really, the biggest problem with life is that it's boring. You ever seen that? You've seen that when that clip from The Sopranos when Christopher Moltisanti is talking, and he's just like, it's just the regularness of life. I can't take it.
Right.
I feel the same way. I feel like, and it's funny because I come from a family of like alcoholics. Like in that show, he's an addict, right? But I think that's what makes people act like that. It's just like the regularness of life is just so
Mundane.
unbearable.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would love. I mean, sometimes I get mad in here is drive out to Richmond and go on a ride along. Like I gotta go do something, right? Like I gotta go. I can't do another day of this. Can't do another day of a 17 viewer podcast.
What's been the craziest thing you've done outside of riding ride-alongs?
I guess when I went to China, so I saw. Do you know? I know you're like 14 years old, but there used to be a website called Scott's Cheap Flights, and it got acquired, and now it sucks. But it used to actually have cheap flights, and they'd send out notices for mistake fares. And there was a mistake fare that was to Asia business class on Hong Kong Air, and it was $500 for like 5 different cities. So I was like, immediately, I didn't ask my boss, I just went and bought it, right? And it was like, at the time, I was like a data engineer, and I was, I don't know, bored. And yeah, going to China totally alone. I'd broken up with a girlfriend.
I'll do it.
A few months before. Yeah. And I was just kind of like, man, I'm so bored. Like, and so I just went to China, and it was great. It was so much fun. I had a great time. But
What'd you do?
I just traveled around, met a girl, had a great time. I'm just saying. And but no, I went to Shanghai, went to Beijing, went and walked on the wall. And then I had to come back. And then I was like, this honestly, it sucks to be back. And my boss was like, yeah, you're like a back end systems engineer. Like you could honestly go work remote in China for a quarter if you wanted to. And I was like, all right, bye.
And you went back to China?
Yeah, for like 3 months.
So you like get back to the US. How long does it take for you to just get back on the next plane to go to China?
Like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, because I'm talking to this girl. I was like, I'd rather be in China. So
yeah.
Went to China again.
You learn Chinese or any?
No, I didn't learn
you
any.
Just didn't even try.
Didn't even try. It's really funny. Chinese people are very nice. They really like Americans, or at least they did back then in like 2017. I don't know.
Probably most of them still do.
Yeah, probably. But I think obviously there's a little bit more national feeling. But back then they were so nice. They loved Americans, and you would just be like ni hao, and they'd be like, oh, your Mandarin's so good, you know? Like they were so nice about it. Whereas if someone has an accent in the US, we're like, fuck off, idiot. Like they were so nice about it.
Did you
So
really just learn like ni hao and shay and that's it?
yeah.
Oh my
Those are my
God.
2 words. But everything else is just like Google Translate, and they were always happy to accommodate. Um, China back then was extremely exciting. I remember I took a overnight like high speed train from Shanghai up to Beijing, and it was so exciting. It was such a beautiful like little sleeper cabin thing I got,
How much did
and
it cost?
not too much. I can't remember
20
exactly,
bucks
but
or something?
no, it was definitely like it stretched me a little bit at the time, but it was like totally fine, doable. Um, and I just remember walking down to the platform with all the bullet trains lined up and all these people busily going around. And I was just like, I don't know, so inspired. I almost felt like crying, you know, because it was like, I don't know, it's like something exciting about a country that's just like bursting at the seams with growth. You know, it's like America in like 1870 or 1880, right? Just like
Yeah.
radically expanding. So yeah, I really liked my time in China. What were we talking about?
China.
China.
Craziest thing you ever done? You
Yeah,
said that you got on a
definitely just
plane and went to
randomly going to
China.
China,
Yeah.
bouncing around.
You said you backpacked around Japan for 2 months.
Yeah,
How
that's
the hell
easy
did you
though.
do that though?
There's no danger in Japan. It's totally fine. Yeah, that was honestly, I'd sold my last company, which was a fitness app, and I'd gotten like postpartum depression, which really happens. Have you talked to anyone who sells their company about it?
I've told a lot of people not to sell their companies.
They go to you for consult?
No, I just offer it.
Not once did anyone ask. I sold my company and it was like fine. It was like, it's not like I'm rich. It was just like whatever. And there's a lot of people that exit like that. And it was and then I was like immediately the next day, I just woke up in my like mid apartment in North Beach and I was just like, dude, why did I wake up? Like, what am I doing? Like, and that's when I got like postpartum depression after that. Um, so after a while, I was like, let's all get out of here, go to Japan, and
You
yeah,
just did.
just did.
Boom. What was the most interesting thing about Japan?
It was really honestly like, so there's like some things that are like, I don't know, I had a good time, but honestly, it's kind of interesting how not good of a time I had.
What was the worst thing about Japan?
So the worst thing about Japan is if you have never been alone until you are alone in Japan. It's really it's Lost in Translation had a really good vibe for this. Like, but he had another English speaker in the hotel, right? Like, it's like if you don't know anyone, then because the only people that can speak English are service people who are interacting with you, and they're so profoundly polite. And what I realized is that like impoliteness and like being casual with someone is a form of intimacy.
Being casual with someone is a form of intimacy?
Yeah, it's like taking a break from like the protocols of like how people really behave, and being casual with someone is like they're taking you into their confidence, you know? It's like it's kind of like
I've never heard a phrase like that. I guess that I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I hadn't put that together.
That's because you haven't been to Japan alone. It becomes profoundly obvious to you after a while that everyone's talking to you in the most polite manner possible. Everyone else can't speak English.
So does it feel just like you're completely cut off?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
no one's being like
and you're
really
surrounded by
radically
people.
authentic.
And you're surrounded by people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people who like I've talked to Japanese people who have lived in the US, and well, 2 of them, so it's not a huge end, but haven't done a survey. But 2 people have told me this, that they do not like Japan because they feel like people are very inauthentic there.
Like they're all just kind of robots?
Yeah, like they're very polite. Well, they're just like, they have this like layer, this presentation layer that's super thick, and you cannot get past it. And obviously if you are just a foreigner, then it's very difficult. So eventually, like I met someone who speaks English and we became friends, and what a relief. I met someone else. The best thing that happened was, do you know Noah Smith?
Yes.
Noah Smith was out there the first week I was there. And so I met some of his friends. And like one of the guys likes to go to baseball games. Oh, I love baseball. So like we started going to some baseball games. I had some friends, but like on a day to day, like I could go days without talking to someone. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So you go a little bit insane when you just haven't talked with any humans?
Yeah. I mean, I thought like it was nice to have time to read and stuff, but it was like, honestly, like I didn't realize it, but
You go a little crazy even after like 6 or 8 hours,
yeah,
but like 4 or 5 days. I got trapped in a hotel during COVID in Austin,
oh,
Texas for like a month and a half where I just couldn't leave, and my only contact was a DoorDash driver.
that sucks.
And
That must have been crazy.
that was
That was
pretty
even
rough.
worse.
I was on antidepressants at the time,
Yeah, I'm
so
sure.
yeah, that was
That sucks.
I gained a lot of weight. I lost it right after.
Oh, okay. Sure. You look good.
So when you're trying to think about like expanding to all 18,000 police departments,
Yes.
how do you kind of like get into that? How many are you at right now?
23.
23.
And the thing that sucks about selling to government is that you have to sell to each local government. And they all have their own things that they want in the contract. And they all have their city attorney who's got a distinct legal theory about this and stuff like that you have to deal with. It's honestly, the transactional costs are pretty high.
Yeah. How many back and forth sessions is this? Is
Yeah,
this like
I mean,
10?
sometimes oh yeah, I
20?
mean, back and forth emails. You mean, but like, we're not have 10 meetings, but it's going back and forth. Sometimes I just give them my lawyer's email, and I'm just like, hey, you guys like hash it out. It's gonna be faster. Like, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So that is one thing about it. We have no market power right now.
Hmm.
Eventually, we'll probably have the market power and be like, hey, this is our standard contract, right? And you'll have to go to your city council for an exemption on this stupid thing that they want you to sign because we don't do it. Right?
But it's much easier once like 300 police departments are already working with you.
Yeah. And it will never be like that when we still approach New York City or LA, like, because those guys have obviously a ton of market power.
It'll be worth your time.
Yeah.
So is this one of those things like, I imagine even today, you're probably honestly better at writing a police report than most police officers, because if they have to spend like 45 minutes or 2 hours or whatever writing this thing, like how could they possibly remember every little detail?
Yeah. So right now we're definitely better. And officers will sometimes read the report and say, wait a second, did he say that? And then go look at the body cam. And it's because when you're an officer, like on a scene, you have like a dozen things in your mind. Like being a cop's actually extremely complicated. It's like weirdly complicated. It's also weird how many like state codes and things like that officers can just spit off the top of their head. Like they have an encyclopedic knowledge usually of the law. I've heard people who don't like the police say that cops don't know the law. And usually it's because there's some specific arcane thing that they, got an officer on. But for the most part, cops know the law significantly more than anyone. So yeah, when you're an officer in the field, you are dealing usually first and foremost with site security.
Yeah.
You are investigating, but you are also a security guard, and these two people hate each other or whatever, or this guy's a high flight risk or whatever, and so you're dealing with that while asking questions and kind of watching your own six. Like then there's some random people on the sidewalk who are volunteer defense attorneys screaming things and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of things going on. And so a lot of times officers are out in the field and they don't even register that somebody said something incriminating or something like that. And we're very good at finding that.
Yeah.
So we can help raise that up and make that obvious to the officer later on. So yeah, right now we definitely write, I would say better. I consider us right now to be 95th percentile report writers.
Wow. Okay. And so before even, let's like walk it back to like before body cams, how error prone was the process of you go do 8 hours of mission or 6 hours being out in the field or whatever, then you come back and you have to spend
12 hours.
Is it 12?
Yeah. A lot of places are 10 or 12.
And is that like they're on the ground doing stuff for 12 hours and then they have to come back
Well,
every
a lot of times,
3 hours at a time?
So it depends on the agency.
That's
A lot of agencies want them to write in between calls, which
okay.
is obviously takes a lot
Mentally
of cops.
draining.
Well, no, it takes a lot of cops out of commission when the call board is at its highest. Like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like that's when things really start cooking. A lot of the maybe homeless people wake up around noon and stuff like that, and so like things start cooking around there. The fact that officers will go to a 20-minute call and spend 40 minutes in their patrol car writing a report, terrible waste of time. Absolutely. So yeah, that's like default status. How accurate are reports? Before body cam, nobody knows, right? Like nobody knows. Reports have become less important though because of body camera. Body camera, it's now in court.
That's more valuable evidence. Like
Yeah, oh,
people, yeah.
absolutely. It's obviously more valuable than human testimony, and it's done incredible things for policing. The body cam era is the best era of policing, like absolutely, because it, in the cursed language of blockchain, it creates a trustless system,
Mm.
right? Like you don't have to take anyone's word for it about what happened. You could just watch the body cam, which has exonerated so many police in so many situations that would have produced horrible riots probably. And you watch the body cam and you're like, oh, never mind. And
Do the police actually like wearing them
yeah, I mean, for
for the
like,
most part?
yeah, because it covers their ass.
Interesting.
Like, if you were not a good cop, right, and you got into policing for the wrong reasons, uh, once body cams came along, you kind of like filtered out of the profession. So that's excellent, right? But on top of that, the fact that good cops can be proven to be good cops is excellent as well. Um, it used to be that cities would get body cams because of some event or some local event that occurred, right? Now cities get body cams because insurance companies want them to get body cams,
Hmm.
like because 99% of the time the cops in the right.
What is it going to take? Like 5 or 10 years for you to fully roll out to most police stations?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say like 10 years in the future, what does this kind of look like? Is this going to free up? I mean, how many arrests per day or, interventions does a cop do right now?
It varies super widely. Like I couldn't tell you really an average number off the top of my head, but
Making
like
roughly like 1.5 times efficiency or more.
yeah, like we can almost certainly increase. Yeah, the average officer. The average officer now becomes 1.5 officers in the future.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because agencies like SFPD, like if you go just talk to a random SFPD officer and say, "Hey, I heard you guys spend 1/3 of your time writing reports," they laugh. They're like, "Dude, we spend way more than that."
Actually,
Like, oh yeah, SFPD, the paperwork requirements at SFPD are insanely onerous.
wait. Okay. So is it like police department by police department? Each one has different requirements
Yeah.
for like which reports to write.
Yeah.
So it's not only like you have to capture all this stuff. You individually, every single police department that you integrate with, you have to like customize each report that you're presenting. Or
No,
how does this
generally
work?
they all need a report, right? Like, but it's what they need to write a report on.
Okay.
So at an SF, the number of reportable events is every detainable interaction, which is extreme. It's so many reports, which has
How many per day? Do you know?
probably an officer does at least 7 or 8.
Times eight, like 1,800 people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 1,800 is like a lot of those are like command staff and stuff like that. So like probably like 1,400.
Crazy.
Or no, it's 1,600 is actually
So it's
how
like
many
10,000
SFPD.
reports a day.
Yeah, it's an
Probably.
insane number of reports a day.
Okay.
But yeah, this has two impacts. So the first impact is definitely officers are just tied up. There's not on the street because they're busy writing. But then the second impact is officers, the marginal cost of stopping someone is really high. And so if you see someone poking their head in, looking into a closed store window, right? Are you going to go ask them what they're doing? No, that's a detainable conversation.
Would you have to write up a report for
Yeah.
even that interaction?
Yeah.
Oh my
You don't want
gosh.
to do a report on that.
So the report is actually stopping people from
Yeah, of course.
taking action. Wow.
Yeah. It's like say I get paper fucked every time I do anything. That sucks. Sorry, that's the police.
No. But how many times? How many like things do you think? Let's say there's 1,400 police officers or something. How many things should they be taking action? But because it's just effort to write these reports, they just don't
There's
take
just
an
a
action
lot
every
of
day.
things where officers will look at it and be like, because it's
It's
like
a pain in the ass.
it's a pain in the ass, but it also takes them off of other things they could be doing, right? When they have to go write that report, a lot of them, first off, the technology, SFPD's it's really tough with the technology. A lot of the MDTs, the in-car computers are broken. It's
Why?
I don't know what goes on. Years of budget shortfalls. Okay, just years of neglect.
Right.
We had a board of supervisors that was run by people who didn't like the police. Let's just say that. And so it was hard to get technology funded. And then there's like, I talked to William Sansom Mosier, who's the CIO at SFPD recently. He's just like, the time it takes to get things done means that by the time you're getting things implemented, the like warranty on all the hardware you're installing is running out. And then it's like, and then you have a policy against installing stuff that's not under warranty, and so
Wait,
you have to start procurement again.
how
It's just
long?
like,
How long is the warranty period?
it'll be like 3 years for an
So
MDT.
it takes 3 years
Yeah.
to implement.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, it's just bonkers. It's just
Why?
like, yeah, just weird rules. I can't remember. He had some great explanation. You should interview William Sanson Mosher. It's some great explanation for this. But SFPD especially has a lot of like difficulty getting things implemented, and that's just ends up there's a lot of things being broken and stuff like that. And so a lot of times they have to go back to the station to write. Okay, that takes that now it's transit time, right? Now they're off the actual street. And when they get to the station, maybe they need more help there or whatever. And so it's just like takes cops out of commission. How many hours is that? Like definitely over half. Over half their time is definitely going to report writing and the associated bullshit with report writing.
So you can double the cop force if you just get this right.
1.5, but yeah.
Which was the first police department that you wanted to target to like integrate with?
SFPD.
Yeah, and so what happened with that? Like, why is that a difficult one to integrate with?
It's really hard for SFPD to make decisions, and it's hard to know what happens inside of agencies. But I was talking to the tech people there, and it was sluggish. What I figured out as time went on is that you're almost certainly best off not talking to the tech people to start with. You should start with the command staff, because to the tech guys, they might have inspiration and stuff like that for it, but it's a project still. Command staff just wants it done. And so you go talk to command staff. And so, yeah, SFPD I had several meetings with SFPD, and then they ghosted me. And then,
What?
yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I was going to give it to them for free.
You were going to give them for free?
Yeah, of course, if they let me build it there. But the thing is, it's like, okay, I was once told by the CEO of another police tech company that's much larger than ours. He said that the places that need you most are the last to get you. They need you the most because their city council hates police. And they're the last to get you because their city council hates police. Like Flock just blew right through the Bible Belt, right? All through the South. A lot of places that had really low crime rates immediately bought Flock, because the police would be like, hey, look, like, and for those who don't know, like Flock is a ALPR system. It's an automated license plate reader system. And so they put cameras at major intersections pointed where license plates go, and then detect license plates as they go through, read them, and match them against master lists for like people with warrants or like, wanted people. Flock is now, I think the number I heard was 10% of crimes that get investigated and get solved in the US are now solved with Flock. Just an incredibly profound crime fighting tool. But it just blew through like all these like rich areas that had low crime. And it was because every time the police come to city council with a convincing sounding like police tool, the city council is like, of course, we love you guys, right? Whereas in big cities, policing is extremely political, it's very complicated. And so they are usually on the back end. They're the last to get it.
So the smartest strategy is to go to like the least bureaucratic, most adoption ready police departments, and then kind of scale from there. For the like 23 that you're operating in currently, what's been the strategy for getting them to sign on?
I mean, it's kind of straightforward. We show them a demo. We explain the software. It's good to find places that are understaffed, which a lot of police agencies. So the big thing that makes this possible that would have been difficult 10 years ago, even if the technology question was solved, was that 10 years ago, overtime was like a reward for cops. And now overtime is like a curse. And it's because of 2020. It's because of George Floyd. After 2020, policing became much less popular as a profession, and therefore there's national shortages of police across the board. And now agencies like fight each other for like cops that might lateral, it's called. You go from agency to agency. Like there is a war on for laterals. A lot of agencies, ironically, are lowering their standards for who can become a cop.
Oh, so the George Floyd incident actually resulted in like, less quality cops.
Yeah, I mean, it's and obviously there's like a lot of great cops that are hired, but there's a lot of places where they're like, yeah, we're taking on people with, things in their record that we wouldn't have taken on 10 years ago. Because it used to be 10 years ago, there's a line out the door to be a cop. It's a great job. You can have a high school diploma, earn, 150,000 a year. Like there's not a lot of things you could do that in. And now it's like there's a war on just to get anyone in the door. And so there's uh, a lot of agencies are allowing things that they haven't before. This to me is a nightmare. That's the worst. That's what's going to generate more problems in the future.
Yeah.
Like really what we need to do is leverage the cops that we have to do more, right? If you have good cops now, then make them more powerful, give them an extra arm, right? So they can do more things. So yeah, but yeah, 10 years ago, this would have been a difficult chore. I think unions would have been tougher. And now the rank and file of police unions are suffering from having to do mandatory overtimes.
So are you going to try and kind of go through the like flock playbook of going down, through the Bible Belt initially, to kind of get a whole bunch of case studies of we've actually done this and it's great?
Yeah. So I mean, right now we go where things are softest. The South is the least soft for policing. They've got what I mean by that is that a lot of agencies are shorthanded, and those cops didn't just like evaporate. A lot of them went down south because the political environment's much easier for policing.
Interesting.
And so a lot of them, we won't have the exact same story as Flock for that reason, is because we talk to a lot of those agencies and they like it, right? It's cool, but they want to be an early adopter. We first shipped in March of this year, right? So to be an early adopter for a technology, you really have to feel the pain point.
Yeah.
And otherwise they're like, we'll wait to see what happens.
So for your specific case, it's not only that, like, yes, the most difficult ones to sell to are the ones where it's, the worst, but also probably the only ones that will adopt initially.
Yeah, it's kind of a split thing where it's like really it's like small and mid-sized cities that have like reasonable staffing issues, right? Which are they tend to be in blue states right now. Those are people that are picking us up.
So it is actually like where the city councils just don't fucking like their police departments.
It's not that I don't like them. It's just that there's tension. And a lot of times if something happens, for a lot of cops, the question is, if something happens, is my mayor going to back me up? Is my DA going to back me up? Are they immediately going to go out to the front of the parade or the riot and like sell me out? Which is a difficult question, when the body cam hasn't come out yet, when things haven't come out. And you could be in the right and your DA immediately wants to file charges against you as an officer. That's a terrifying situation.
So have there been like cases where police officers have been basically under the scrutiny of the public eye, completely sold out by everyone above them, only to be like later exonerated, but they already had to experience all that pain?
Already had to move their family out of state for a week and stuff like that. Like,
crazy.
It's a crazy job. Like there's no other job where that can happen.
So you're literally in San Francisco. This is like where you're headquartered. And I know that the policing situation here has gotten a little bit better over the past 12 months, but it's still not great. It's still not awesome.
It's a difficult environment.
Yeah. What was like, other than the whole like startup scene, is this the optimal place to build this company? Like for finding the type of people that want to join and kind of make police more
definitely
efficient?
I mean, right now, because the political energy here has changed.
Okay.
Like Prop E in the last election, I think passed by 70%. That was a law that gave a bunch of new technology to the cops.
Oh,
so they could do like drone as first responder and all kinds of stuff like that. When I saw Prop E passed by 70% in San Francisco, I was like, oh, like
vibes are back.
We're back, baby. Like we're back. It's definitely a place that, like, to me, it's easy. So if someone is ideologically aligned with doing things like this, they might go work for a defense tech startup, right? Like it's the same kind of guy, right? Like the same kind of people. And I think that's easy when you live in a place that's like a small place that doesn't have problems. Like, it's easy to worry about Taiwan. I don't care about Taiwan. I really don't. I don't really care that much about Ukraine, honestly. I hope they win the wars. Like, I hope Taiwan stays an independent democracy. But like, you're LARPing. Like, that's not your problem. Like, you know what your problem is that your girlfriend can't walk to Whole Foods at night
Mm.
in an imaginary world where you have a girlfriend. You know, you cannot walk at night without feeling secure, right? In American cities. That's crazy. That's crazy. This is the best country in the world, and you can't walk at night on the streets? That's nuts. Like any violent crime rate that's above what Tokyo's is unacceptable to me.
What is
Like,
Tokyo's?
I have no idea. Way less.
You and your facts.
I got facts, baby.
Bro, you got the best facts.
But it's true. I mean, like, people talk about, like, right now, like, violent crime is down in San Francisco. Like, first off, I'm always very doubtful. Like, they'll give like up to like the week numbers.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like a lot of reports haven't even posted yet. Like, of course, like yesterday's like doesn't look like there was a lot of crime. The reports aren't even written yet. Like, of course.
Wait, so they're posting like basically fake stuff?
Oh yeah, a lot of cities
wild.
do this. And I think it's
and they don't like update them to say actually.
Oh no, they do update them, but it's like
no
we revised our numbers from 3 quarters ago. No one cares about that, right? Well, 3 quarters ago, we were all so excited with how low the crime rate was.
So is this one of those things where like someone comes into power and they just say like, all right, let's make sure that the numbers look like they went down?
A very common thing is to downcharge. Like, if we have a felony, we actually charge as a misdemeanor. We have fewer felonies now. Isn't that amazing? We just drop charges. Dropping charges is the best way to make crime go down.
Are like mayors and stuff able to do that?
DAs can.
Crazy.
Yeah. So
how much corruption is this? Like, is there in the police force and general local governments and stuff?
Not that much. I'm surprised.
Or just misreporting, shall we say?
Yeah, I think there's just like just convenient reporting practices.
Convenient reporting practice.
Yeah.
Well, it almost feels like one of those things where when the new guy comes in, he can artificially lower, or she can artificially lower the new cases, and then just like say, actually, let's redact, or not redact, but basically update the old cases. So suddenly it goes from the old numbers get way bigger, and then the new numbers are way down, and really it's just not changed.
Well, that's what happens when you 3 months later revise, or 3 quarters later revise, or a year later revise. Then suddenly the denominator here is totally different, and that changes the crime rate, relatively speaking, compared to last year.
So does this also make it kind of difficult for like updating and like integrating new technology and stuff, and like updating new practices if you're just like fucking with the numbers all the time?
I mean, it's good to not. That's like a very it's a very noisy signal, right? Is like the crime rate, right? Like, I don't really trust that much. But
what's the highest signal thing?
Oh, well, for us, the highest signal thing is the amount of time that officers spend writing reports.
Okay.
Which in some agencies is measured, right? They have to go like a certain status on their dispatch system when they're writing, right? We just did a pilot with Belmont, which is now going to contract, where they did a study and they reduced their report writing time by 40%. And I think that is way under exaggerated. I had some problems with the methodology, but I'm like, okay, overall, I get it, right? If we could cut time in half, that's amazing, right? That's so good. That's a signal that really makes sense to me. You got to measure the most specific and lowest, closest to the metal thing you can. But with the crime rate, like, it's so noisy. There's so many things going on there. Yeah. And like you said, like, new guy comes in and revises the past numbers, and here we are.
So when you were first starting this, I know that like Elon is very good at figuring out which kind of like KPI to go after. And I imagine that this is one of those things where it's like a murky water where you're not exactly sure what exactly the right KPI to go after is initially, because you actually have to get the data, right? And so if you can't get the data, then obviously it's not a good KPI, right? What was the first thing that you were kind of like initially thinking was the right thing to go after? And then how has that shifted over time?
I mean, definitely, like, immediately I thought, obviously, I want to drive down report writing time, right? Time spent writing reports. Oftentimes, it's not well measured within agencies. And it's also kind of hard to know, like,
is there incentive to not accurately report how much time they're spending writing reports?
No.
Okay, so this is just like some arbitrary thing that just happens that you know
Yeah, it's just
happens.
like a lot of dispatch
Okay.
systems don't have a code for like 10.8, like writing reports or whatever, right? Or a lot of guys will just go on like, like something else, like standby or something, instead of specifically putting that they're writing reports. And so, yeah, I'm actually not like a terribly data-driven person. I'm really a qualitative person. That's why I do so many ride-alongs.
Hmm.
It's because I just want to watch people use it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because like in Y Combinator, I went through Y Combinator, and Y Combinator has this. They kind of give you advice on how to interview customers and talk to people and like try and figure out like interview your users. And I was just never very good at it. I just not. I just learned things by osmosis, but I learned them really deeply. I can really put myself
You
in
know
their
what you remind me
position.
of? You are the Rick Rubin of police.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
You're just sitting there and you're like, I know what I like. I know what I don't like. And I'm very decisive about what I
I
like.
am, and I just watched them use it. And it took. That's why I went on so many ride-alongs, is because I was like, I have no idea what it's like to be a police officer, right? I have
Yeah.
no clue. So I just keep on going on ride-alongs, seeing them use the software, seeing them write reports, figuring out what really sucks about it. Early on, we had a decision that we wanted to not only do. So there's two parts of a police report. There's a face sheet, it's called, which is like, suspect one, we have to fill out all this information for suspect one, victim one, you have to fill out all this information, right? And then location, you have to fill out all this background information for the location. It's all the structured data. And then there's the narrative. Well, I was 2 months into the company when Axon said they were going to do draft one. They were going to do their report writing. And they said during the announcement, they said, we're taking transcripts and we're turning them into narratives. And I was like, oh, that's nothing. That's so easy. That's like I was doing structured data. Like we're doing the face sheets as well. Because I'd watch officers write reports, and half the time they're clicking around all these like 500 fields for each person, right? Adding data, skipping a bunch of them, just skipping a ton of data, right? Because it's like, what am I going to do? Sit here for like 10 hours filling this crap out? And no one's ever going to read it probably. So the amount of data that was missed and the amount of time spent filling out structured data, I was instantly like, oh, dude, we could do way better than this, right? Like I could definitely improve this. And so I was like right off the bat, right? I was like, I definitely want to do that. Couldn't have measured that, I don't think. Like it wasn't like something that like you just had a qualitative understanding of a police officer's job and just watch them sit and click.
You know what's funny is the whole like YC, like go talk to your users or go interview your users or whatever. The real goal behind that is to understand their problem.
Yeah.
And the real key is like you actually figured out the goal is not to go interview someone and ask the right, these certain set of questions. It's just like go experience whatever they're experiencing.
Right.
Understand the problem
Yeah.
on some fundamental level. And like you can way better. Like I imagine that Axon wasn't doing ride-alongs.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they do. I don't know what huge companies do. I know the CEO doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Like someone who can actually affect things, right? I know what it's like to be a product manager at a place called Axon. Like it probably sucks, right?
And
like,
I doubt that anyone has agency enough to just go to a police department and say, hey, can I do a ride along?
Right. It's definitely important, I feel like, and it's my job to do ride alongs.
Yeah.
Like I used to write code, like, and that was like the hardest time of my life was during Y Combinator when I was all day I would write code, and then at night and like in the afternoon I would go catch the swing shift at Richmond and do ride alongs till late at night. And sometimes officers get held over. That means the shift ends and they get told they have to stay on for like 3 more hours, 4 more hours.
Do they hate that?
Yeah, of course. And I would hold over with officers just to see what it's like, right? To be out in the field for like 15 hours, like something bonkers like that. That was the most difficult time, was like doing that, because then
you weren't getting enough sleep. And
I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was doing a ton of caffeine.
I imagine that with these people, you do the first ride along because you asked, but I imagine you do the 10th ride along because they actually like having you in the car with them. Probably. Are they getting lonely out there on long shifts?
No, it is kind of weird. A ride along's crazy that you can do a ride along, because it's like, hey, your boss tells you like, hey, this guy's gonna sit in your tiny office with you for
you don't get a choice.
8 hours. No.
Oh wow.
I mean, I knew the cops, right? And we had good rapport and stuff like that. It's really the valuable thing about it, the repeated process. Like first, like ride along with a guy, it'd be like, yeah, this is how we do things in Richmond, blah, blah, blah. And then like the fourth or fifth one, he'd be like, oh, you would not believe what my fucking sergeant just told me. Listen to this, right? It's like that kind of
He was
stuff.
just venting to you.
Yeah, which is exactly where you figure out what the pain points are, right? Like you could figure out what's wrong in an agency by doing that, right? I knew way more about what was going on the ground and like in that agency than probably Captain Smith did,
Wow.
because I was there with them like several times a week during that period.
So this thing that went from like very difficult to understand the police problems and all this stuff kind of flipped on its head very quickly to you are experiencing them multiple times for hours at a time
Right.
with the people that are actually going to actually use your technology.
Yeah.
And so I imagine like for those people, were they just super psyched to not need to spend all their time writing reports?
The cops hate writing reports.
Yeah.
Like there's zero officers zero people become police because they like writing.
They want to do the chases.
Never once happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never once in history. Not a lot of English majors. The English major to police officer pipeline. Probably
the English majors go to college.
Well, a lot of cops go to college. But yeah, a lot of them are, there's probably actually a decent amount of English majors now I think about it that became cops, but they don't do it because they love writing.
So is there any way that you can kind of like integrate into a police's stack or like a police officer's stack without actually going through all the necessary things, like just a ChatGPT integration or, you know, whatever, to enable them to more quickly fill out the reports, even if it's not technically with the police department?
Oh no. I mean,
you know, you can't do that.
You could basically be like, you know, I guess like a ChatGPT, right? But it's you're missing like 80% of the value then. Like the big thing is getting the body cam footage, going through that, and obviously the admin staff is involved there, and then they have a lot of requirements. And CJIS is a funny data security, like data compliance spec, because it's kind of different depending on who you ask, and it's kind of different state to state, which is really convenient for us. But the going through CJIS, a lot of times you'll run into an IT person at an agency who's like a CJIS expert, right? They got a fascination with CJIS, which is inexplicable to me, but they love it, and so they really want to drill you, right? And so
and
like,
they want to like make sure that you know CJIS too.
They want to grill you on the details of CJIS, and so we run into that. You got to know what you're doing, which is good, honestly. It's a profound trust that people. It's body cam footage of people talking about the worst day of their lives, you know. So it's a profound trust.
Is there kind of ways to sell into these departments that are a little bit more founder mode, figuring out like who makes the decisions and how do you make them like you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, being liked is the best thing you can do in sales, in my experience. If cops like you, then it's easier to sell to cops. And so, I happen to be someone that I'm just incredibly charming. And so it's very easy for me. It comes naturally, you know. Uh, but the foot in the door, you definitely have to meet them first.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to your local police agency, it's like, you know, it's like the queen bee is in the center of the nest. You know, you won't get to her, you know, so you got to go where police chiefs and police captains go to socialize. And that's usually police conferences.
Interesting.
Cal chiefs.
What was the most interesting story from a police conference?
There's never been anything interesting that happened in a police conference.
You're just going and it's boring?
No, it's you know, it's where police go and get drinks, and usually they just have fun conversations, and they like telling cop stories. Cops love telling stories, and honestly, it's they got good stories, right? Like the funny thing about policing, when I first started doing this, I did the SFPD Citizens Academy, where you go through, it's like a 6-week thing and you learn all kinds of stuff. And then one of the weeks it was scenario training. And the scenario training was like, you're like given like a wooden gun and a baton and stuff like this. And then there's a guy who's a cop, but he's like, you know, a criminal. And you have to do the scenario with him. And you have to decide how to deploy force. And the way that your like blood turns cold when someone gets in your face and is like, fuck you. like, fuck you, pig, fuck you, like, eat shit, like, I'm gonna do it. And it's like, you're like, suddenly it's like you realize all of a sudden, like, the worst thing that happens at your job is someone sends an email. It's like, per my last email. Like, that's the biggest conflict you'll have at work if you're a white collar worker, right? Especially in the top half of white collar workers, right? Like, it's like, so our lives are so easy. And then the day-to-day thing with the police is just getting abused,
Yeah.
like, all the time, right? And it's like your adrenaline spikes and you're immediately in the state, right? um Policing is yeah, there's a lot of stories as a result of that where it's like that. And there's a lot of moments that go surprisingly violent. There's a lot of people that will try and reach for your gun. There's a lot of just like crazy things that happen out there. And so I love police conferences because I love talking to cops. They have great stories.
And do they just become very unfiltered after a beer or two?
Of course.
Amazing. That'd be wonderful. You mentioned in the TechCrunch article that you're basically like initially got into this by like rescuing some lady from an abusive relationship and then like bringing her to a new place. And then her boyfriend would just like come over
Yeah.
and bang on the door or something.
Yeah.
And it would take the cops like 40 minutes to show
Yeah.
up. How did this happen? How many times did this happen?
That happened several times, actually. I think like
Why were you helping her?
she's a friend of mine from a long time ago. And she ended up in the Bay Area and she didn't have anyone to help her. And basically she like reached out to me because she physically needed help getting out of this like living situation.
And she was like, Daniel's my guy.
Yeah, well, she knew I was out here. And she was like, hey, we haven't talked in years, but can you help me? Now we're good friends as a result of this ongoing drama. But yeah, going through that was really, really eye-opening about what it's like. It's really easy to criticize police, right? Especially when you're someone whose worst conflict at work is a per my last email kind of message, right? Like, it's really easy to not know what it's like to be out there. And there's a lot of scrutiny on police, and that makes sense. It's a sacred duty, right? It's a sacred trust that we give police to handle the violence problem in society. But you should really think about how terrifying it is when the police don't show up. Like that, the lack of police is horrifying. And every city that defunded the police immediately reversed course. What you should really want is more funding for the police because you should want better policing. You're not going to get a better product if you cut funding. You can put strings on it, right? You can say we want a longer, police academy, we want whatever. But the on net, like what you really want is you definitely want police. You definitely want police because it is so scary when they don't show up and there's a violent situation going on.
How do the police actually feel since some of the like bigger protests and stuff of the past few years? What's the general vibe? There's fewer people going into police work, but also like at the actual police departments or out in the field or whatever. How do those people feel?
The sentiment that I've heard several times is that we bring it on ourselves, right? Like, obviously the way that Minneapolis Police Department was running at the time was not good, right? Like every cop saw that and they're like, oh shit, right? Now, obviously you're paying the tax for what someone else did, right? Like that sucks. That's the thing about policing. Police look monolithic to most people. Like there's just police in every city, right? They're all totally different, unrelated to each other, right? Like oftentimes never talk to each other. So it's like they're all very different and every cop is different, right? But the thing that I've heard again and again is like, yeah, like we earned that one, right? Like policing was not doing like it was like there was clearly cops where there was a slack in the attention paid to police, like what police were doing, that put us in this situation.
Well, the strangest thing to me is when something goes really bad and someone does something that they shouldn't have done, who pays for it? And sometimes there's like these multi-million-dollar settlements and it's not just like coming out of nowhere.
It's a city.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's just your money,
Yeah,
basically
so
going to
just
some
the
cop
city's money.
doing something bad.
And literally like it's like sometimes like one agency we were talking to and they were like, sorry, like settlement just came through, like we can't spend any money now. Because it's like
So it like forces them to be less good at doing what they're meant to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, but like
because
city council's like, dude, we got to pay like $3 million for this. Where's that going to come from? Like, it's got to take a chunk out of that out of the police budget. Sorry, guys, but like that's the reality of it.
yeah.
And I mean, that's the reality of being any entity that needs to make its ends meet, is that, you gotta pay your bills. And when you do something wrong, you gotta own up to that and pay that. And cities pay for that all the time. All the time they pay for it. So
What are you thinking over the next like few months to a year? What are your main focuses?
expanding, definitely. We've got there's been a lot of studies about the impact of the marginal officer on homicide rates and other crime rates.
Hmm.
The impact of the marginal officer on homicide rates, if it shakes out, the way it shakes out is that if we save officers half their time writing reports, which I think we're definitely at now, then for every 100 officers on our platform, one person's life is saved per year. That's just because officers are out in the street more and they're getting guns off the street. They're being present in violent communities, things like that. So,
Oh, is it one of those things where there's like some convexity where you double the police force time on the field, but suddenly the crime rate goes down by like 80 or 90%?
yeah,
Amazing.
it is a highly leveraged thing when you can put more police just out and about. So expanding is definitely our focus. And then there are some other things. There are some other things to build. The thing is, there's a high cost of. I mean, we're not enough of a machine to calculate a CAC, right? But there is a cost of acquisition clearly for police agencies that's rather high, just because going through this process is pretty difficult. And so once you get them though, and they really like your stuff, then it's like, well,
They're never going to tear you out.
well, yeah, that's one. Extremely low churn industry. That's what makes it an attractive investment. But also, you are really incentivized to build more products, right? Because if they like your stuff, they'll buy your other stuff, right? And they already like you. So it's like, so we're expanding into a few more things that are currently underserved by incumbent players. The incumbent players in this industry mostly are not that good. It's been a industry that has been, for ideological reasons, ignored by like most really talented technologists over the past 10 to 15 years. And so a lot of the software that police are using, you would look at and be like, this is appalling. Like it's like really old
It's
and
really
crappy.
bad.
Yeah.
And so how do you think about like deciding to focus on just grinding and building out the one thing and like figuring out how to get a consistent sales process and scaling customers and all that stuff versus like you have 23 police departments and you could build other products that you're selling into those police departments at the same time? Like what's the better use of time and how do you think about that?
Yeah, so we're not Google. We don't change things just for the fun of it. Like, it's like once we get something that was saving a ton of time, then we're like, okay, like we've got one of our engineers who's like really the expert in that, right? And just kind of spearheads that development and continues on like adding features and stuff like that. But it's like, okay, once we really got like a strong beachhead on a product, then it's like, well, several agencies have asked us for this thing. So I'll talk about a product that's coming is the product we've been talking about is Abel Writer. Takes body cam footage, turns it into police reports. There's a common product that is used throughout the industry that everyone agrees really sucks called CopLogic. It's made by a company called LexisNexis. And what CopLogic does is it's a way of taking in reports from the general public online. And if you go to like SFPD, Oakland PD, to go to their website, it'll say file a report. And these are for minor crimes where people want to get a report number, usually for their insurance company or whatever, but they don't want to wait for a cop to come and stuff like that. Okay. Well, LexisNexis, it turns out, now has contracts, we think, with ICE. They would not sign the city of Richmond's sanctuary city agreement, which says that you will not do business with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They refused to sign it. So Richmond, the city, had to cancel their contract with LexisNexis. And as a result, they came to us and they're like, hey, can you do something about this? And we're like, yeah, definitely. We could definitely do a way better version, because you look at CopLogic, it looks like it was like made in 1997, last updated 1999. It looks like garbage. It looks like garbage on mobile, and like it breaks easily. Um, and all that generates more calls to the agency. All that generates more calls for service that cops have to go out and do. All that wastes police time for, like, oh, somebody broke into my car and I just need a report number from my insurance company, or somebody stole my phone. So we are now making Able Citizen, and we're going to be launching in Richmond, looks like this week. And so that will take in reports. The V1 of that is just taking in reports through a form. But what we really want is a chat interface, and we're building now is a chat interface for it, so that people can go on and just describe the crime. Because a lot of times when you ask people to summarize a crime, they miss what we call the the necessary components of the crime, right?
So you can have some like LLM just spit out, yo, here's the questions that we need answered.
Yeah, and be like, and if they describe it, be like, okay, now did they actually break into your car, right? Or was the car left unlocked? Because that's a different kind of crime, right? When you say something was stolen, was it stolen on off of your person, right? Because that's a very different crime than if it was stolen like you left it somewhere, right? Getting that clarity is another thing that saves record departments time, and it saves cops follow-up time. Anything we can do basically to soften these difficulties that end up being officer time.
Yeah.
Because everything, like, shit runs downhill in these agencies, and it just ends up being officers have to go out for everything. And we only got so many bodies right now. Like, we got a shortage. So for spending cop time going down, chasing down, like, what happened to that stolen cell phone, it's not the best use of time. So improving that is our next product.
Awesome.
And it sounds like, I think a lot of California agencies are going to end up having to cancel LexisNexis and CopLogic because of the refusal to sign sanctuary city agreements.
Is the fact that like no one really wants to work in this kind of industry from the software side what leads to like so much inefficient? Like, it's kind of ironic, because if there was more efficiency from a software and all these other things side, suddenly cops would actually do a much better job. There would be way lower crime in like all these cities. So I imagine that this is like one of the, as far as quality of life improvements for just people in general, it's like one of the highest leverage things that you could be doing for just humans in the US.
It's incredible what like from a technological perspective, I won't underrate it, but what a flick of the wrist it is compared to other things you could be doing, right? That would radically improve American cities and thus improve the United States of America. That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool to be able to write code that makes your city cleaner, right? That makes crime go down, that saves people's lives. Like, that's amazing. It's just stuff you're writing in VS Code that is producing that result. That's sick.
Let's do the final question. Okay. What's the hardest thing you've overcome?
I guess when I was 15, I came down with a disease called acute disseminated encephalomyelitis, and it paralyzed me from the waist down. If you want a really literal answer, I was paralyzed for weeks. I couldn't walk, and I had to learn to walk again afterwards. And a lot of people die from it, and a lot of people are permanently paralyzed by it. And so, I was 15. They couldn't figure out what it was. I lived in a like mid-sized town in Florida, and so they had to put me in a helicopter and fly me up to Jacksonville, where they had like a diagnostician, like a Dr. House figure, who like figured out what it was and put me on this cocktail steroids and stuff that like fixed it. But
how close were you to just being out?
Well, I don't remember. Like, they kept me drugged the whole time, which was awesome. But it was definitely the most. So what it does is your immune system attacks your nervous system, and so I had lesions on my spinal cord and brain, and the headaches were life-changing. It was the most painful thing. It was awful. And so going through that, and then like having to learn to walk again. I was like 15.
How'd you even get it?
It's a mystery how it happens. So it happens when if you are sick and you don't like take it easy, like you don't like rest. And so I was sick, and I just kept going out, and I was like, a degenerate little teenager. So I was drinking with my friends and stuff. And
so your immune system was compromised, and you were already compromised.
One night I just literally couldn't pee. And I, like, in the morning, I was like, Mom, like, something's wrong. And she's like, yes, that's appalling wrong. So we went to the emergency room, and that's how it all started. And then after like 24 hours after that, I couldn't walk. And then they were like, it's getting worse.
Your legs wouldn't move?
Yeah.
Could you feel your legs?
No.
You couldn't feel your legs.
Yeah, that was the scariest thing, is like being in bed and looking down and there's a doctor and he's like, "Can you wiggle this toe?" And I couldn't move my toe. Right? I was like, "Oh shit, it's
Did you
like
think at that
over."
time like you would never be able to walk again?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I was like, "This doesn't seem to be going my way right now."
Yeah.
Things, so, this is kind of getting away from me here. This doesn't look good. Uh, so yeah, that was the hard. And then I got my ability to walk back. Like I was able to recover, and then I learned to walk again, and that took months. And it gave me like a really profound sense of like serenity, really. And that's when I became Buddhist. I became like really like, yeah. And I spent most of my years back then Buddhist, because everything that like Zen Buddhism and Chan Buddhism taught, I was like, yes, 100% I get it, right? Like, uh, so yeah, for years I was really into Buddhism because of that, and then I got really into fitness, which now I no longer care about. But I was really into the idea that I could use my body, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't know, I was younger, I didn't really care, but
But
then
then
I
you didn't
was,
have it and you were
yeah, then
like,
you don't have it, and you get told that you might not walk again, and you're like, oh shit. So that was probably the hardest thing I went through.